today's concept is arrays. I'll create a package array. Let's write some nodes. So far we had seen the variables, right? So when we declare or initialize any variable, so that particular variable can hold only one value, right? Not more than one, right? So now we have a requirement of holding multiple values in a variable. Values in a normal variable hold only one value. Want hold more than one variable than one value. Types. Okay, array is a concept here. This is a data type, right? Create using by creating and data create a new Java class. A, all right, method A equal to int of. This is the way we create an array, right? You see, in the normal variables, you create the variable like this int a equal to, let's say int I equal to 100. We want to create the array, right? While creating the array, it is mandatory to put this brackets here after the variable name, either after the variable name or after the data type, right? I'll tell you the other way again. And then we need to use the new, again the data type, and then we need to specify the size in the same brackets here, right? This is the size of the array that we are declaring here. This is the size of the array, right? So this is also can be written in this way. Int a equal to is another way. Wherever you put this brackets, either you put before or after the variable name or after the data type. All the three ways it works. But it is mandatory to initialize the size of the array. Right? Without initialization, you cannot do it. That means you are defining the size of the array. That means you are specifying how many values can it be hold. Okay, now let's see how to add the values for this. Right? Yeah, 1 equal to 200. So how many values it can be hold? What is the size that we had defined? We had defined it is 2. So we cannot give more than 2, right? If you see here the indexing, right? In the order it always starts from the 0, but the size is always 2, right? Size always starts from 1, but the indexing always starts from 0, right? Though we say 0 1, it is actually two elements, right? 0 and 0th element and first element. Okay, let's try to print it. How do we print? A of 0, A of 1. Here, no problem. You see the output. We are printing A of 0, that is 100, and A of 1 is 200. We cannot print A of 2. Let's write another example. Let's try to print A of 2. What should happen now? I print A of 2. Do we have any element in the second index? That means the third value?
No.
No, right? So we should get a exception. What is that exception? Array index out of bounds exception. See here, array index out of bounds exception. If you are getting this exception, that means you are trying to access an index which is not available in that, right? So that's the reason. If you see index 2 out of bounds for the length 2, so the maximum index is always length minus 1. The maximum index is always length minus 1. It is simple, right? So what is the maximum index here? It is 1. What is the length here? It is 2. So the maximum index is 2 minus 1, right? So that's the formula here. All right, let's write another example. SVM. Here we are directly declaring the array elements also. We are declaring the array and then we are directly adding the values also. Out of directly print just a, what will be the output? We'll get the hash code, right? But this is not useful for us. Right? Let's say, for example, if you want to print all these elements, so we have the for loop, right? For int I equal to 0, a dot length plus plus. That means I want to iterate to all the elements that are there in the array, right? So when I say a dot length, that means what is the length of the array? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means 5 elements, right? So it has to take through all the 5 elements. A of I. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. Now let's say for example, put 5 equal to 10. So index 5 out of bounds for length 5. That means I am trying to, what is the maximum index in the array here? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And I am trying to add an element at the fifth index, a of 5 equal to 10, but it is failed. Why? Because once you create the array, the size is fixed, it cannot grow dynamically. The size of the arrays is fixed, it cannot grow dynamically. Size of the is so not grow dynamically. Here, once you decide the size of the array, even in the previous example, we are defining the size of the array here itself, right? Later, you cannot change the size of the array; it is always fixed. Clear? Any doubts? Let's see if there are any methods available in this array. Yes, VM. 120. So this is the array. So what is the length of the array? Int length equal to the length of the array. How do we get the length of the array? A dot length. A dot length. Similarly, just put A and then dot. You can see all the methods that can be that are available in the arrays class. All the methods available. We learn all these things. These are all comes under Java 8 concept. For now, you can see equals hash code to string get class notify all wait options are available. Dot instance of normal. Okay. Now I want to sort this array. I want to sort this array. How do I sort? Arrays dot sort. Here there are many methods available in the arrays class. Right? The arrays class. I'll pass. If arrays is what? It must be a class because it is always starting with the capital letter. And if I am trying to access it without creating the object, that means this sort method is available in the arrays class and it must be a static method. Let's click on this by holding control and then verify that. See, sort method is a static method available in the arrays class. Right? So we can sort it. Now let's print it here for int equal to less than length I plus plus. Why I am putting just length here? Because I had already generated the length here, right? So I am using this variable here, I less than length. Okay. Out of I. For 40. Now this is now this is same for loop again. The program and see the output. Before sorting, we had got in the same order, whatever the way that we had defined 50, 30, 60, 90, 100, 120, 25, 35. But after sorting, you can see the values are sorted based on the ascending order, right? The default sorting order is always ascending 25, 30, 35, 50, 60, 90, 100, 200, right? When you are attending the interviews, these are the most common and important interview questions. They will ask you to write a program to sort the numbers in an array. But the twist they give is they will not accept to use this method. If you use this is very easy. Arrays dot sort, but they will not accept this. Okay, but even if you write it, if you learn it, that is not going to be useful because we don't use all that manual things, right? But if you understand and then learn from the Google, it is good. You can get all such answers from Google. Okay, but in real time we use this kind of code in case we have got to sort the elements. Clear? And then let's write another one here. Yes, sort of. I want to print the array here. So if I try to print the array, I get the hash code, right? But I want to get the complete array. How do I get? A dot print. A dot push. No. Here, string also had got the same thing. Not this way. Full string of a. Now you will get the all the elements. You see here the same array will be printed here. This is before sorting, right? Clear? The main thing that you need to understand here is you need to understand how to get the length of the array, right? And then how to define the arrays. It is very important to understand the arrays, but in real time, it is we rarely use the arrays. We rarely use the arrays. All right. So You can create an array with the objects also. Right? Let's see how it is. SVM. If, let's say for example, I want to create the 10 objects for this class B, and then I want to have all those 10 objects in the array. Right? So how do I create? The first thing I need to do is let's create all the 10 objects. B1 equal to B. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll create. So I want to store all these objects in the array. So what should be the data type to store? Should it be int or should it be string data type? Don't think that since I had given the example of int array, we can have only int array. You can have string arrays also. You can have double array. You can have byte array, short array, char array, right? So you can have the arrays of any data type, right? That depends on the type of values that you are storing. If you want to store only the integer values, then you should create the array with of type int. If you want to store strings in an array, then you should create the array as a string. If you want to create or if you want to store byte values in an array, then it should be byte, right? So now I want to store the objects of type B. So what should be the array type now? It should be B only, right? B, I will say B array. The name I will give is B array. Or directly I will initialize the values here. B1, B2, B3, B4, B6. Take it here. Less than what? It should be always array of length. Array of length. Plus plus. Sort of array of it will print I think the hash codes. Yeah, all the hash codes because we did not override the toString method in the class B. Okay. So likewise, if you want to store any elements of any type, you can create an object. But let's say now I am creating B of another array, given array equal to UP of let's say I'll just size I'll specify 2. So what I'll do is I'll create the objects for class C. C1 equal to C2 equal to UC. Add this C1 and C2 in the B1 array. Is it acceptable? B1 of array of 0 equal to C1. Not acceptable. Because C1 refers to of what type? C type. But B1 array belongs to what type? B. So you cannot add the elements of the different type. You cannot add the elements of the different type. If you just put the mouse over here, it is saying required type is B, provided is C, right? Provided is C. So this is not acceptable. elements or objects. So whatever the type that you declare, have the same type. Have the same type. Now let's look at something new. Another concept called a couple of interfaces, comparable and comparator. Okay, comparable. These are the interfaces available in Java.lang package. Want to give the sorting one of these two comparable. That is compare to method. Comparator is method. Compare method. Okay. Very important question. The difference between comparable and comparator. If you just try to add a few more points. You want to have only one sorting sequence. Understand later what is the sorting sequence. Use comparable interface. We want to have multiple sorting sequences. So for data enter. Very important question. Even if you put it in the Google, you will get some points. Comparable. Okay. So these are the differences, but you will understand even detailed with the programs. Let's try to look at a program. I'm going to create a new class E, have a variable int get a get the constructor, generate constructor. Okay, Now I'll override toString method, right? ToString method. Okay. Now I implement the comparable interface. Implements comparable. Okay. Comparable. Got an error. Why? So since I said comparable interface, we have a method that is compare to. So we need to override that compare to method, right? Otherwise, we need to declare this class as a abstract, right? Implement the method. So we implement the method, right? Here we need to write the logic. So what I'll just write here is return I obj I. Okay. Minus obj, right? So object to O type what? Class E. For which class we are creating? We are creating for class E. Okay. So you don't have to remember this logic exactly. You can get it in the Google also if you want to implement the comparable. Okay. Now what I do is I create a manager class for this. So I create the e1 equal to new uh, right? E2 equal to new e of e, e3 equal to new e of e4 equal to new e of I have this 4, right? Now I add all these to an array, e array equal to add all of them 1 comma e2 comma e3 comma e4. Let's first print normally arrays dot log array. Now I'll print. So if I print it, what will I get? I should directly get the way that I had inserted e1, e2, e3, e4. That is 30, 60, 25. See, e of 30, 60, 25, and 35. Right? But I want to sort these objects. How do I sort? I had already implemented the comparable interface. Right? So what I do is I place the sort of the array. Now I print it x dot to string of the array is for sorting, right? Now I should get the objects in the sorted manner. After sorting 25, 30, 35, 60, right? If we are adding the normal values just like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 like that, you don't have to implement anything directly. You can call the sort method, so it will be sorted, right? But here these are the objects, right? So you never know which object is the first one and which object is the second one. There has to be a decider element. So what is the decider element? The value that belongs to the object E, right? So if you go back at the class E, we are implementing the comparable interface, and then we are implementing the compare to method. Compare to method. So based on this logic, we are getting this sorting sequence. We can sort the elements only if they are of comparable type. If comparable means type means it is mandatory to implement the comparable. Without implementing the comparable, we want to sort any elements is mandatory to implement the comparable. Mandatory to implement the comparable. Whenever we are using sort method, internally will be checking whether elements are comparable type or not. Comparable type or not. That means it is implementing the comparable type or not. Sort method generally uses the compare to method. Compare to method to get the sorting order. Sorting order. Clear? Similarly, now let's look at the comparator that we were talking about. Right? So let's create. So we'll say implements comparator. See the difference. Comparable was available in java.lang package. Comparator is available in java.util package. Okay. Did I mention that in the notes? Okay. So since we are implementing the comparator, it is forcing us to implement the methods. So what is the method that is available in the comparator? We say it is the compare method, right? So we implement the compare method, implement methods, right? So inside that there are many other methods, but we just need compare method here. Okay? Now I'll create a manager class for this. So here I'll write the logic, right? One equal to on this. These are the two different types. That's the reason we need to do the casting here. Then one dot J. Where do we have J? Okay, we need to create another class basically. So here we have int I comma j. There are two values. I generate the structure. I generate the constructor. Get the string method. Right. So this is G. Right. So here I want to implement the sorting sequence based on the value of I or J. Okay. So first I will do with the J. Right. So it will be minus 2 dot J. That is G, right? G. I'll create another class ABCDFGH. Okay, GH. And the operator, if I do compare again, right, I'll just copy paste from here. But has to be H. Is the difference. Want to sort based on the value of. Okay. So we have a class F that does the sorting sequence based on the value of J of class G, right? Basically, we'll create the objects for class G. That object will have two values, I and J. So in one approach, I want to sort it based on the value of I. In second approach, I want to sort it based on the value of J. So that's what I had done. In the class F, I'm sorting it based on J, and in the class H, I'm sorting based on the I. Don't get confused. I'll write a manager class now. What is that? FGH, right? FGH manager. I'll say FGH manager. Yes, VM. Object we want to create. We want to create the objects for class G, right? So let's create G1 equal to new G of 30 comma, that is value of I is 30, J is 40. G2 equal to new G of 35 comma 35. G3 equal to G of 70 comma 80. 4 equal to G of 40 comma 80. I'll say 80. Just, just put off. Yes. Or two string of. Sorry, I did not add to the array, right? So I need to create the array. Yeah. 1, G2, G3, G4, G5, G6. Right? So this is the before sorting. Right? Let's run the program and then see. So I got in the same order 30 40, the G1, and then G2 is 25 35, G3 is 70 80, G4 is 40 20, G5 is 80 10, and G6 is 22 50. Now I want to sort this object based on the values of I, right? So if I sort it based on the value of I, what should be the order? I think first it should be G6 and then G2, right? I'll just write it here, G6 comma G2. Next, what else? G1. Next, G4. G1, G2, G6, G4, G3 comma G5, right? So if I sort it based on the values of I, this should be the sequence, right? Yes or no? Please correct if I am wrong here. Okay, but how do I sort it based on the value of I now? Okay. So arrays dot sort. If you see, so far we were using the first sort method where we were just passing only the array. Yeah, if it is the int array, we were passing the int array. If it is the byte, we can pass the byte. Now if you go little down, is there is one more sort method which takes an array and then a comparator, which takes an array and then the comparator, right? And then a comparator, which takes an array and a comparator. So let's see how this can be used. Arrays dot sort of array, we want to the G array, and then what is the array? Sorry, what is the sorting sequence, right? What is the sorting sequence that we need to pass now if we want to sort based on the value of I? Comparator, or I think we can pass directly the class. What? F is for I value, G is for H for I value, right? We'll run it. We are not printing it, it will just sort. We are not printing it. This is still the old one, right? We are just sorting it here, right? In this line, we are not printing it. Out of sorting based on sort of array. You see now 2250, 2250, then 2535, next 30 40. See, the I values are sorted 20, 25, 30, 40, 70, and 80, right? But if you want to sort based on the J value, right? So the same thing we can copy paste, but here you need to pass the F, right? So F is the class which is implementing the comparator, and we are implementing the sorting sequence based on value J here, right? Let's print the same thing again. Now this time the array B should be printed sorting the J value. Here, run it again. See now it is not printing based on I value, right? But if you look at the J values are sorted 10, 20, 35, 40, 50, 80. Clear guys? This is an important interview question. They might ask you to implement the comparable and comparator example. So in that case you might need to write all these programs. Then you will be impressed. Clear? Any doubts in the today's class?
Sir, in reverse, in descending order, how to sort?
In the descending order you want to sort, right? So there are some what do we call? See, if you want to implement it normally, you need to write this kind of code, okay? But in Java, there are a lot of methods available internally, right? So just put reverse a array in Java, you'll get the methods available, right? This is the this is what without using the readily available methods, okay? There are some methods available in reverse order. I think there is a method reverse order, I think. See here, collections dot reverse of arrays dot as list. So we are just using a function called method called reverse from a class collections. So this topic I have not yet covered, right? So that I will cover it later. But usually in the interviews, they will not accept if you write the code in this manner. But in real time, you will use only this type of code which is readily available. But in the interviews, they will ask you to expect this type of code, right? If you see here, original array is this one, sorting, right? What they are doing, they will be checking it, which value is bigger than. They'll run a for loop and then they will check, right? So these things you need to understand yourself, right? Only for the interview purpose, these are useful without using the inbuilt functions. But in the real time, you will actually use this kind of things. All the scenarios and all the logics will be readily available. Okay, so it is important to understand this approach also, but I'm not going to explain, right? So that can come later. Even if you can watch either any videos or you can just go to the Google, you will understand it. But this is what I'm going to explain, because this is what we will go on use in the real time. Clear? All right, guys. We'll catch up tomorrow with the new concept then. Thank you. I'll just push the files.